The stars looked cold and distant from the bridge of the Zephyrian command ship as Admiral Kekstar reviewed the latest reports about the human species. These creatures had somehow managed to spread beyond their home planet and were now building colonies in nearby star systems. The Admiral found this development annoying rather than concerning, because every species they had encountered before had been easy to crush when they became too bold. The Zephyrian Empire had ruled this part of the galaxy for over 3,000 years and had destroyed hundreds of primitive civilizations that dared to expand beyond their birth worlds. Humans would be no different from the others who had been turned to ash and memory. The Admiral ordered his fleet commanders to prepare for another routine extermination mission. Meanwhile, on Earth, Captain Jake Morrison stood in the massive construction bay on Luna Station and watched the final work being done on humanity's newest warship. The vessel was unlike anything humans had ever built before and represented 20 years of desperate research and development. Every human colony that had been attacked by alien forces had provided valuable data about enemy technology and tactics. The ship was called the Thunder Soul, and it stretched nearly 2 kilometers from bow to stern, with armor plating that gleamed like polished silver. Its main weapon was a cannon that could channel the raw power of a star, and its engines used quantum fusion technology that bent the rules of physics. The ship's defensive systems could create energy barriers strong enough to stop planet-killing weapons. Commander Lisa Grant walked through the weapon control center and checked every system one final time. She had lost her brother when aliens destroyed the colony on Kepler 438b, and she wanted to make sure every gun on the Thunder Soul would work perfectly when the time came for revenge. The ship carried enough firepower to level a small moon, and she intended to use every bit of it against humanity's enemies. Dr. Tony Blake made adjustments to the ship's computer systems in the main engineering section. The Thunder Soul used experimental neural linking technology that allowed human minds to connect directly with the ship's computers. This meant the crew could react faster than any alien species and coordinate attacks with impossible precision. The technology was dangerous and untested, but it was humanity's best hope for survival. Chief Gunner Pete Collins ran practice drills with his weapon crews and watched the main cannon charge up during the tests. The sound it made was like distant thunder rolling across mountains, and the energy readings were beyond anything he had seen before. His crews had trained for months to operate weapons that could punch through any known armor, and he was confident they could handle whatever the aliens brought to fight them. Lieutenant Amy Brooks studied star charts in the navigation center and plotted courses that would take the Thunder Soul deep into enemy territory. The aliens controlled thousands of star systems and had fleets that numbered in the tens of thousands of ships. The Thunder Soul would be outnumbered by impossible odds, but Brooks had calculated attack patterns that might give them a fighting chance. Captain Morrison gathered his senior officers for their final briefing before launch. He looked at each face around the table and saw the same determination he felt burning in his own chest. These men and women had volunteered for what everyone knew was likely a suicide mission, but none of them had hesitated when asked to serve. They all understood that humanity's survival depended on proving that humans could fight back against impossible odds. The Thunder Soul's crew numbered 800 volunteers from every branch of Earth's military services. They had trained together for 6 months and had become more than just a crew. They were a weapon forged from human determination and desperate hope. Each person aboard knew their job perfectly and was ready to die if necessary to protect the human species from extinction. Engineering Chief Danny Walsh supervised the final engine tests and watched power readings climb to levels that should have been impossible. The quantum fusion drives generated enough energy to power an entire planet, and the ship's systems had been designed to channel that power into weapons and defenses. The engines made a deep humming sound that seemed to vibrate through the bones of everyone who heard it. Intelligence reports showed that alien fleets were moving toward human space in massive formations. 3 human colonies had already been completely destroyed with no survivors left behind to tell what had happened. The aliens clearly intended to wipe out every trace of human civilization and turn Earth itself into a lifeless rock floating in space. The Thunder Soul received its final clearance for launch and slowly moved away from Luna Station under the power of its conventional drives. Once the ship reached safe distance from the moon, it would engage its quantum engines and begin the journey toward the first battle. Captain Morrison stood on the bridge and watched Earth grow smaller in the viewscreen as they headed toward what might be humanity's final hour. Dr. Blake activated the neural linking systems for the first time with a full crew and felt the minds of 800 humans connect with the ship's computers. The sensation was overwhelming as individual thoughts merged into a collective intelligence that could process information faster than any organic brain. The crew became something more than human in that moment. They became the living soul of their ship. The Thunder Soul engaged its quantum drives and disappeared from normal space in a flash of silver light. Behind them lay Earth and all of humanity's hopes for the future. Ahead waited an alien armada that had never faced anything like the weapon humanity had created from desperation and determination. The thunder was coming, and it would shake the foundations of the galaxy itself. The Thunder Soul dropped out of quantum space at the edge of the Kepler 442 system, where 200 alien warships waited in perfect formation. The Zephyrian Vanguard fleet hung in space like a cloud of metallic insects with weapons pointed toward the single human vessel that had dared to challenge them. Admiral Kekstar watched the primitive ship appear on his screens and felt nothing but amusement at human stupidity. Captain Morrison stood on the bridge of the Thunder Soul and studied the alien formation through the main view screen. Each enemy ship was larger than anything humans had ever built, and their combined firepower could turn a planet into molten slag within minutes. The smart thing would be to retreat and report the enemy positions, but Morrison had not come here to run away from a fight. The alien admiral opened a communication channel, and his translated words echoed through the Thunder Soul's bridge with cold arrogance. He offered the humans one final chance to surrender and promised that their deaths would be quick if they powered down their weapons and prepared to be boarded. Morrison listened to the entire message without changing expression, then turned to his weapons officer. Chief Gunner Pete Collins had been waiting for this moment since the aliens destroyed his home colony 6 months ago. His fingers moved across the weapon controls and brought the Thunder Soul's main cannon online with a sound like gathering thunder. Energy readings climbed beyond anything the alien sensors could measure as quantum forces built to impossible levels inside the massive gun. Lieutenant Amy Brooks at the navigation station plotted an attack course that violated every rule of space combat ever written. Instead of maintaining safe distance and engaging in long-range bombardment, she programmed a direct assault run that would take them straight through the center of the alien formation. The course looked suicidal to anyone who understood conventional tactics. The Thunder Soul's main cannon fired its first shot, and the beam of pure energy struck the alien flagship dead center. The quantum fusion blast did not simply destroy the ship. It unmade the vessel at the molecular level and left nothing behind except an expanding cloud of glowing particles. The beam continued through 5 more ships behind the flagship and erased them from existence just as completely. Admiral Kekstar stared at his screens in shock as 6 of his finest warships simply ceased to exist. The human weapon had fired once and eliminated more firepower than most species possessed in their entire fleets. He ordered his remaining ships to return fire immediately and destroy the impossible human vessel before it could shoot again. Commander Lisa Grant coordinated the Thunder Soul's defensive systems as hundreds of plasma bolts and energy torpedoes streaked toward their position. The ship's quantum barriers activated automatically and deflected the alien weapons like rain bouncing off armor plating. The energy shields held easily against bombardments that should have vaporized any known vessel. Engineering Chief Danny Walsh pushed the Thunder Soul's engines past their design limits as the ship accelerated into the alien formation. The quantum drives generated enough power to move a small moon, but Walsh demanded even more from the systems. Warning lights flashed throughout the engineering sections, but the drives held together and gave the ship impossible speed and maneuverability. The Thunder Soul spun through the alien fleet like a dancer made of silver lightning while its weapons fired continuously. The main cannon recharged faster than any alien computer could calculate, and each shot erased another enemy vessel from space. Secondary weapons tracked hundreds of targets simultaneously and destroyed alien fighters before their pilots could even see what was killing them. Dr. Blake monitored the neural linking systems as 800 human minds worked together to control their ship. The crew's thoughts merged into a collective intelligence that could process tactical information faster than any computer. They could predict enemy movements before the aliens made them and respond to threats that had not yet fully developed. Lieutenant Kate Miller took control of the helm and flew the Thundersoul through maneuvers that should have torn the ship apart under normal physics. The quantum fields around the vessel allowed it to change direction without regard for momentum or inertia. She guided their ship between alien weapons fire with precision measured in centimeters. The battle lasted exactly 17 minutes from first shot to final destruction. When the Thundersoul's guns finally fell silent, 147 alien ships had been reduced to scattered atoms drifting in space. The remaining 53 vessels of Admiral Kekstar's fleet fled toward their home systems with damage reports that no one would believe. Captain Morrison walked through his ship after the engagement and found 0 casualties among his crew. The Thundersoul had emerged from humanity's first major space battle without losing a single person while destroying an alien force that outnumbered them 200 to 1. The weapon systems showed no signs of damage, and the engines were already charging for their next quantum jump. Admiral Kekstar's emergency transmission reached Zephyrian High Command within hours, and his panicked report described a human vessel that fought like something from nightmares. The ship moved faster than physics should allow and carried weapons that could destroy anything they touched. The Admiral begged his superiors to reconsider their plans for human extinction. The Thundersoul prepared to jump to its next target, while Captain Morrison reviewed the tactical data from their first engagement. His ship had proven that humans could fight back against impossible odds, but this was only the beginning. The aliens had thousands more ships, and they would not underestimate humanity again after this demonstration. Dr. Blake analyzed the performance of the neural linking system and found that the technology had exceeded all expectations. The crew's minds had adapted to their connection with the ship's computers in ways that surprised even him. They were becoming something more than human. They were evolving into the perfect weapon for fighting in space. The Thundersoul disappeared from the Kepler 442 system in another flash of silver light as it jumped toward its next battle. Behind them drifted the wreckage of alien arrogance, while ahead waited an enemy that was just beginning to understand what they had awakened when they chose to threaten humanity with extinction. News of the Thundersoul's victory spread across the galaxy, faster than the speed of light, as panicked alien survivors reached their home systems with impossible reports. The Zephyrian Emperor convened an emergency council of all allied species and declared that the human threat must be eliminated immediately before their single ship could cause more damage. 3,000 warships from 6 different alien civilizations received orders to converge on the last known position of the human vessel. Captain Morrison received offers of reinforcement from Earth Command, but he knew that conventional human ships would only slow down the Thundersoul's operations. His vessel could jump between star systems in minutes, while normal ships needed weeks to cover the same distances. The Thundersoul worked best alone, where it could use its speed and firepower without worrying about protecting slower allies. Dr. Blake worked in his laboratory deep inside the ship and prepared to activate the most dangerous system ever installed on a human vessel. The neural storm array would link every crew member's mind directly to the ship's weapons and engines through quantum connections that operated faster than conscious thought. The technology was completely untested at full power and might kill everyone aboard, but Blake knew they would need every advantage against 3,000 enemy ships. Engineering Chief Danny Walsh ran final diagnostics on the Thundersoul's enhanced systems while the ship traveled through quantum space toward the alien rendezvous point. The vessel's armor had been reinforced with materials that existed only in theoretical physics, and its weapons had been upgraded with technology salvaged from destroyed enemy ships. The Thundersoul was evolving just like its crew. Lieutenant Amy Brooks calculated a series of microjumps that would allow their ship to appear at multiple points throughout the alien formation without warning. The Thundersoul could materialize anywhere in normal space for just long enough to destroy key targets, then vanish before return fire could be coordinated. The aliens would be fighting an enemy that existed everywhere and nowhere at the same time. The massive alien armada gathered at the edge of hegemony space, in a formation designed to trap and destroy any ship that dared to challenge them. Supreme Admiral Vorthak commanded the fleet from his flagship and deployed weapons platforms that could crack the surface of a planet. Every alien species had contributed their most advanced warships and deadliest weapons to ensure that the human vessel would finally be stopped. The Thunder Soul emerged from quantum space directly in the center of the alien formation without any warning whatsoever. Captain Morrison gave the order to engage all weapons as Chief Gunner Pete Collins brought the main cannon online with a sound like the birth of stars. The first shot carved through a line of 12 enemy ships and continued burning through space until it struck a weapons platform and turned it into a brief new sun. Commander Lisa Grant activated the ship's point defense systems as thousands of alien fighters swarmed toward the Thunder Soul from every direction. Automated turrets tracked and eliminated targets with inhuman precision, while energy barriers deflected incoming fire from the larger enemy vessels. The space around the human ship became a storm of destruction that consumed everything that entered. Dr. Blake initiated the neural storm array and felt 800 human minds suddenly connect with every system aboard the Thunder Soul. The sensation was beyond anything he had experienced before, as individual consciousness merged into a collective intelligence that could think faster than light. The crew became the ship, and the ship became an extension of human will focused on a single purpose. Lieutenant Kate Miller took direct control of the Thunder Soul's movement through her neural link and guided the vessel through maneuvers that violated the basic laws of physics. The ship spun and twisted through enemy fire while its weapons maintained perfect accuracy on targets that changed position constantly. She could feel every quantum field around the vessel and use them to make the ship dance between alien weapons. The Thunder Soul vanished from normal space and reappeared 3 seconds later behind the alien command ship, where it fired a concentrated burst that crippled the enemy flagship's engines. The ship jumped again and materialized above a cluster of destroyers that dissolved under focused fire from its secondary weapons. Each micro-jump brought destruction to a different part of the alien formation. Supreme Admiral Vorthak watched his carefully planned trap fall apart as the human ship moved through his fleet like lightning, striking in all directions at once. His ships could not target an enemy that appeared and disappeared faster than their sensors could track. The human vessel seemed to know where his ships would be before they moved there themselves. The neural storm array allowed the Thunder Soul's crew to process tactical information at quantum speeds and predict enemy actions before they happened. They could see the flow of battle like a 3-dimensional map that showed every possible outcome simultaneously. The aliens were fighting an enemy that could think in ways their minds could not comprehend. Engineering Chief Danny Walsh channeled power through systems that should have exploded under the massive energy loads, but somehow held together through the crew's collective will. The ship's quantum drives generated enough force to move planets, while its weapons drew power directly from the fabric of space itself. The Thunder Soul had become something beyond normal technology. The battle lasted 4 hours as the human ship systematically destroyed alien vessels throughout the massive formation. The Thunder Soul never stayed in one location long enough for enemy weapons to target it effectively, and its own guns never missed their intended targets. Alien crews abandoned their ships in terror as they watched their fleets being dismantled by a single enemy vessel. Captain Morrison felt the thoughts of his entire crew flowing through his mind as they worked together to coordinate attacks on hundreds of targets. Simultaneously, they were no longer individual humans operating a ship. They had become a single organism dedicated to protecting their species from extinction. The transformation was terrifying and wonderful at the same time. Dr. Blake monitored the crew's vital signs and watched human biology adapt to impossible conditions in real time. Their brains were processing information faster than any organic tissue should be able to handle, but somehow they continued to function and even improve. The neural storm array was changing them into something that had never existed before. When the Thunder Soul finally ceased firing, over half the alien armada had been reduced to drifting wreckage scattered across several light years of space. The surviving ships fled toward their home systems with reports that would shake the foundations of every civilization in the galaxy. They had witnessed the birth of something new and terrible. The Thunder Soul hung motionless in space, surrounded by the debris of 3,000 alien warships, while its crew slowly disconnected from the neural storm array. They had won another impossible victory, but Captain Morrison knew this was only the beginning. The aliens would send even larger fleets and more powerful weapons until humanity was finally destroyed. or every alien civilization was forced to surrender. The Emergency Council meeting on the Zephyrian homeworld brought together representatives from dozens of species that had never known defeat in thousands of years of galactic conquest. Ancient civilizations that had destroyed entire star systems found themselves discussing retreat from a single human ship that moved through space like a force of nature. The council chambers echoed with panicked voices as military leaders tried to explain how 3,000 of their finest warships had been obliterated by one impossible enemy vessel. Supreme Admiral Vorthak stood before the assembled alien leaders and delivered a report that challenged everything they believed about warfare and physics. The human ship could appear anywhere without warning, and its weapons ignored every defensive system known to galactic science. Their enemies seemed to predict attacks before they were even planned and responded to threats that existed only in theoretical calculations. The hegemony's top scientists analyzed wreckage from the destroyed alien fleet and found technology that should not have been possible according to their understanding of the universe. Human quantum fusion systems operated on principles that violated fundamental laws, while their neural linking technology created collective intelligence beyond anything in their databases. The humans had somehow transcended the limitations that bound every other species. Captain Morrison received a priority transmission from the alien coalition offering terms for immediate ceasefire and recognition of human territorial claims. The message came directly from the Zephyrian Emperor himself and promised complete withdrawal from all systems claimed by humanity. Morrison listened to the entire proposal, then asked Dr. Blake how long it would take the Thunder Soul to reach the alien homeworlds. The crew of the Thunder Soul had changed during their battles as the neural storm array continued to enhance their mental capabilities beyond normal human limits. They could process information faster than any computer and coordinate actions with precision that amazed even themselves. The technology was transforming them into something that was still human, but also something entirely new. Dr. Blake studied the long-term effects of the neural linking system on the crew and found that their brains were adapting to quantum-level thinking in ways that evolution should have taken millions of years to achieve. They were becoming a new form of human consciousness that could exist partially outside normal space and time. The implications were staggering and terrifying. Engineering Chief Danny Walsh reported that the Thunder Soul systems were also evolving as the ship's quantum fields interacted with the crew's enhanced minds. The vessel was becoming more than just advanced technology. It was developing something resembling consciousness as 800 human souls merged with its computer networks. The ship was alive in ways that defied scientific explanation. The final confrontation took place at the edge of Zephyrian space, where 1,500 alien warships had formed a defensive line around a massive orbital fortress armed with planet-killing weapons. Supreme Admiral Vorthak had gathered every remaining ship under his command and positioned them to make humanity's final assault as costly as possible. The fortress bristled with weapons that could sterilize entire worlds. Lieutenant Amy Brooks plotted the Thunder Soul's approach vector through fields of automated mines and energy barriers that should have been impossible to penetrate. She calculated trajectories that existed in 11 dimensions simultaneously and found paths through defenses that the aliens believed were impregnable. Her enhanced mind could see mathematical solutions that normal human consciousness could never grasp. The Thunder Soul materialized at the center of the alien defensive formation as every weapon in the enemy fleet opened fire simultaneously. The barrage should have been enough to destroy a small moon, but the human ship emerged from the storm of energy completely unharmed. Dr. Blake had made one final modification to their vessel that allowed it to exist slightly outside normal time. Chief Gunner Pete Collins targeted the orbital fortress with the Thunder Soul's main cannon, while temporal displacement fields shifted the ship microseconds ahead of incoming fire. The aliens were shooting at where their enemy had been rather than where it actually existed. Their most powerful weapons passed through empty space, while return fire struck with devastating accuracy. Commander Lisa Grant coordinated defensive systems that had evolved beyond their original design parameters as the ship's quantum barriers adapted to each new threat automatically. The Thunder Soul's shields learned from every attack and became stronger with each impact. The vessel was developing its own survival instincts through its connection with the human crew. Lieutenant Kate Miller flew the Thundersoul through maneuvers that seemed to bend reality around the ship as it moved between dimensions faster than alien sensors could track. She could feel the fabric of space itself responding to her will through the neural links. The boundary between pilot and spacecraft had completely disappeared. The orbital fortress exploded in a flash of light visible from 3 star systems away as the Thundersoul's main cannon punched through armor designed to withstand stellar bombardment. The massive structure became a brief artificial star that illuminated the wreckage of the alien fleet floating in space around it. The demonstration sent a clear message across the galaxy. Supreme Admiral Vorthak transmitted his unconditional surrender from his crippled flagship as the surviving alien ships powered down their weapons in defeat. The coalition that had ruled this part of the galaxy for millennia officially yielded to a single human vessel, crewed by 800 volunteers who had refused to accept extinction as humanity's fate. Captain Morrison stood on the bridge of the Thundersoul and watched alien representatives offer formal apologies and tribute to humanity through subspace communications. Species that had never bowed to anyone were surrendering their territories and begging for mercy from the humans they had planned to exterminate. The galaxy had learned to fear a name it had never heard before. Dr. Blake reviewed the tactical data from their final engagement and confirmed that the Thundersoul had achieved something unprecedented in galactic history. A single ship had forced the surrender of civilizations that controlled thousands of star systems and commanded technology beyond human understanding. The cost in human casualties remained exactly 0. The alien coalition formally signed surrender, documents that granted humanity sovereignty over vast regions of space and established Earth as the dominant power in their part of the galaxy. Ancient species abandoned their homeworlds rather than risk further encounters with human forces. The phrase crossing humanity became synonymous with suicide across 1,000 different languages. Engineering Chief Danny Walsh prepared the Thundersoul for its journey home to Earth, while the ship's enhanced systems continued to evolve in ways that surprised even their creators. The vessel had become something unique in the galaxy, a fusion of human consciousness and quantum technology that transcended the limitations of both biology and physics. The Thundersoul began its journey back to human space carrying the news that humanity's war for survival had ended in complete victory. They had gone out as defenders of their species and returned as conquerors of the galaxy. The aliens had wanted to destroy humanity for being different, but learned too late that being different from humans was what had kept them safe. The galaxy entered a new age as news of humanity's victory spread to every inhabited system within 1,000 light-years of Earth. Ancient civilizations that had ruled for millions of years found themselves subjects of a species they had dismissed as primitive savages just months before. The Thundersoul's journey home became a victory parade as alien fleets lined up to escort the human vessel and pay tribute to its crew. Captain Morrison walked through the corridors of his ship and saw the faces of 800 people who had been forever changed by their experiences. The neural storm array had enhanced their minds beyond normal human limits, but the cost of that evolution was becoming clear. They could no longer think like baseline humans, and found it difficult to relate to people who had not shared their transformation. The crew gathered in the main assembly hall to watch live transmissions from across the galaxy as alien leaders formally apologized for their aggression against humanity. Species that had never acknowledged equals were now pledging eternal friendship with Earth and offering to share their most advanced technologies. The humans who had been marked for extinction were now the undisputed masters of their region of space. Dr. Blake continued his studies of the crew's enhanced mental capabilities and discovered that their transformation was still ongoing. The neural linking technology had triggered evolutionary changes that were spreading through their genetic code and would be passed on to their children. They were becoming the first generation of a new form of human consciousness, adapted for life among the stars. Commander Lisa Grant reviewed tactical reports from the Thundersoul's campaign and calculated that their single ship had destroyed over 2,000 enemy vessels while suffering 0 casualties. The implications were staggering because it meant that human military technology had advanced so far beyond alien capabilities that entire fleets posed no threat whatsoever to properly equipped human forces. Engineering Chief Danny Walsh supervised maintenance on the Thundersoul's systems and found that the ship itself had been transformed by its connection with the human crew. The vessel's quantum computers had developed something resembling personality, and the neural network showed patterns that looked remarkably similar to human brain activity. The ship was becoming a living entity with its own thoughts and desires. Lieutenant Amy Brooks plotted their course through star systems where alien populations had fled to distant galaxies rather than risk encountering more human ships. Entire species had abandoned their homeworlds and ancient colonies because they believed that coexistence with humanity was impossible. The galaxy was being reshaped by human expansion. The Thunder Soul entered the Sol system to find hundreds of ships from dozens of alien species waiting to greet them with offerings of peace and cooperation. The same civilizations that had planned to exterminate humanity were now competing for the privilege of serving human interests. Earth had become the political center of a galactic empire without ever intending to build one. Chief Gunner Pete Collins deactivated the Thunder Soul's weapon systems for the first time since leaving Luna Station, and felt strange relief at the Yayu silence where the sound of charging energy had become constant background noise. His weapons had reshaped the balance of power across the galaxy and established humanity as the dominant military force in known space. President Sarah Johnson addressed the crew of the Thunder Soul from the steps of the White House and thanked them for saving not just humanity but human independence and dignity. The 800 volunteers had accomplished something that would be remembered for thousands of years as the moment when humans proved they belonged among the stars as equals to any species. Dr. Blake presented his final report on the neural storm array to a joint session of Congress and explained that the technology had created a new branch of human evolution. The enhanced crew members would serve as the foundation for future space exploration, because their minds could operate quantum computers and navigate dimensions that normal humans could not even perceive. The Alien Coalition established permanent embassies on Earth and began the process of integrating their technologies with human science under careful supervision. Species that had been enemies became teachers as they shared the accumulated knowledge of millions of years in exchange for guaranteed protection from human military forces. Captain Morrison stood before a gathering of world leaders and delivered his final mission report with characteristic brevity. He explained that the Thunder Soul had proven human capability to defend their interests anywhere in the galaxy, and recommended that Earth begin construction of additional vessels using improved versions of their quantum technology. Lieutenant Kate Miller accepted promotion to captain of humanity's second quantum battleship, which was already under construction in orbital shipyards around Jupiter. The new vessel would incorporate lessons learned from the Thunder Soul's campaign and would be crewed by volunteers who understood the price and responsibility of wielding such incredible power. The Thunder Soul itself was retired from active service and placed in a place of honor above Earth, where it served as both monument and warning to anyone who might consider threatening humanity. The ship's quantum systems remained active, and its enhanced consciousness continued to grow as it watched over the planet that had created it. Years passed as humanity expanded into the territories abandoned by fleeing alien civilizations and established colonies on worlds that had never seen human footsteps. The galaxy belonged to Earth now, and human explorers carried advanced technology that made them nearly godlike compared to the species they encountered. Dr. Blake's research into consciousness enhancement led to the development of neural linking, systems for civilian use that allowed humans to operate quantum computers and travel between dimensions. The technology that had been created for war became the foundation for a new era of human exploration and scientific advancement. The legacy of the Thunder Soul lived on in every human ship that followed, as each new vessel carried improved versions of the quantum technology that had won humanity's freedom. The galaxy learned that crossing humans was not just dangerous but fundamentally impossible, because humanity would adapt and overcome any threat through determination and innovation. Alien historians studying the human campaign identified the moment when the Thunder Soul fired its first shot as the beginning of the human age and the end of the old galactic order. They concluded that humanity's greatest strength was not their technology or tactics, but their absolute refusal to accept defeat, even when facing impossible odds. The thunder had rolled across the galaxy, and its echoes would resonate through history, forever as a reminder that some species should never be underestimated. Humanity had earned its place among the stars through courage and sacrifice and would defend that place against any threat that dared to emerge from the darkness between worlds.